Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to this video titled Rates and Unit Rates, and I'd like for you to get out your Math and Focus book and turn to page 237, get out your math journal, pencil, and also a calculator. So you can see the goal for this video is to solve unit rate problems including unit pricing. So first of all, let's think about what a unit rate is, and the unit rate is a ratio that compares a quantity to one unit of a different quantity. And you can see this in your glossary on page 350. But again, a ratio that compares a quantity to one unit of a different quantity is called a unit rate. Now let's take a look at some examples and non-examples of unit rates. So here's an example of a unit rate. If you take a look at number 1, a monkey plucked 4 coconuts per minute. Now the idea that it's per minute, in other words, 1 minute, makes this a unit rate. If it were to say a monkey plucked 4 coconuts in 10 minutes, that's not a unit rate because it's not 1 minute, it's 10 minutes. But the fact that a monkey plucked 4 coconuts per minute shows that this is a unit rate. So that's what we're talking about with unit rate. So you see unit rates all the time, especially with gas stations. They always have how much the price per gallon is on their sign. So that's a unit rate. They're not saying that 10 gallons is going to cost us $35.75 because that's hard to figure out which gas station would be cheaper. They're just saying how much it is per gallon that we can easily compare the price per gallon from the different gas stations. Now, an example of something that's not a unit rate, if you take a look at number 3, a basketball team scored 294 points in 6 games. The idea that 294 points is okay, but it's the fact that it's in 6 games, not per game. So that does not make it a unit rate. So that is a non-example of a unit rate. Now, if I were to say that the basketball team scored 49 points per game, then that's a unit rate. So hopefully this helps you understand what a unit rate is. Just remember, a unit rate is a ratio that compares a quantity, so for example, 4 coconuts, to 1 unit of a different quantity. So a quantity 4 coconuts to 1 unit. Remember, it has to be 1 unit of a different quantity in order to make it a unit rate. So now let's look over to page 293. And we're going to practice expressing and computing unit rates in terms of time and other quantities. Okay, so you can see that you can use a bar model for this type of problem. And what we have here is Kimberly is paid $48 for working 6 hours. How much is Kimberly paid per hour? So it is important to understand that you know how much you get paid per hour. So whenever you ask somebody how much they make an hour and they tell you, that's an example of a unit rate. Okay, so we can see here, and we're going to fill this out together on page 239, 6 hours gives us $48. Now, just saying that you earn $48 for working doesn't really tell you how much, if it's even a good use of your time or anything like that, because you get paid $48, and who knows, you may have worked 100 hours, or you get paid $48 and you may have only worked 2 hours. But understanding the unit rate helps you understand how much somebody's getting paid per hour and if it's a good job or not. So we can see, if we're trying to figure out how much is it per hour, we take our $48 and we divide about however many hours that we work. So we take 48 divided by the 6 hours, and that's $8. So we can see that Kimberly is paid $8 per hour. Okay, so one example here, we have $48, again, 6 hours. So in order to figure out how much per the unit rate is, or how much per hour, you just take what you want to get to the final number here, to the 1. We divide by 6. We want to get the 6 hours to 1. Then we take that 48 divided by 6 as well. So $8 in 1 hour here. Okay, so that's the basic setup when you're trying to figure out how to express and compute unit rates in terms of time and other quantities. So let's go over to page 240, and we're going to take a look at practicing finding a unit rate. We kind of already did that already, but let's look at it again. So for number 2, on page 240, it says, a few years ago, when a fuel tank in Jayla's car was completely empty, she paid $63 to fill the tank with 22 22.5 or 22.5 gallons of gasoline. What was the cost per gallon? So this is the unit rate that you hear about the most. If you hear your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles complain about gas, they always say how much it is per gallon. Okay, so that is an example of a unit rate. Now let's take a look at this particular problem and find how much it is per gallon. So what we do is we take the cost per gallon and also equals the cost of gasoline divided by the volume of gasoline filled. So let's look at this a little bit in more detail. So we take the $63 that was paid, so $63, and we're going to divide it by the 22.5 gallons. Okay, so think about, what do you want to get down to 1 unit? We want to get the gallons down to 1 unit. So that means we divide the other quantity by that number that we have. So we're going to take that 63 divided by 22.5, and that gives us $2.80. Okay, so the unit cost of the gasoline was $2.80 per gallon. Okay, so again, what we want to do to find the unit rate, we think about what we want to get to the 1 unit. We take the number that we have and divide it by, or the other quantity, and divide it by that number. 63 divided by 225, $2.80 per unit or per gallon. So now let's jump over to page 244. We're going to take a look at practice finding a quantity given the unit rate. So we can see that water flows from a faucet at a rate of 10 liters per minute. That's a unit rate. Why is it a unit rate? Because it's per minute here. Okay, at this rate, how many liters of water flow from the faucet in 4 minutes? Okay, so we can see that 1 minute is going to give us 10 liters. All right, if we're taking a look at 4 minutes, what we do is we take the 10 liters and we multiply it simply by 4. Why 4? Because it's 4 minutes. And that's going to equal 40 liters there. So we can see from here that 40 liters of water flows from the faucet in 4 minutes. Let's fill that in on page 244. So again, if you have the unit rate, you can easily figure out how much it is when you multiply it by however many minutes, for example, that this is talking about. We just took 10 liters per minute, multiplied that 10 by 4 because it's 4 minutes, and we got the 40 liters for our answer. So this concludes the video on rates and unit rates. When we come into the lesson tomorrow, in the next couple of days, we're also going to take a look at how we can use unit rates to figure out what's the best buy at a certain store. So that is something that you will be able to use just even, when you go out to a store the next time. It's a really helpful skill to understand so you can get the best buy there. So we will take a look at that as well in the 5.1 video. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about rates and unit rates.